The best gaming laptops take your setup from your desk to wherever you want it to be. These portable powerhouses can go toe-to-toe with desktop PCs these days and do it all from a coffee shop. Throw in a new generation of high-resolution displays and both skinny and chunky frames, and you've got a massive selection of machines to choose from. This year hasn't seen any new GPUs on the market, though, and Intel's 14th generation processor upgrade is more of a minor iterative update. That means gaming laptop brands have had to get creative with their new releases. Between super-fast OLED displays and complete chassis redesigns, this year's crop of portable PCs still mean business. However, the fact that their benchmark scores show smaller jumps over the previous year's models means we've also got a whole roster of older machines to contend with as well. In fact, the best gaming laptop I've tested so far is, overall, the 2023 Asus ROG Strix Scar 16. It balances high-octane performance with a manageable form factor and plenty of extra features, without exploring the top-shelf prices of the 18-inch model. However, if your budget still doesn't stretch that far, you can rest assured we've been testing machines all across the price spectrum. We have listed the 6 best gaming laptops 2024, and their key features. You need to consider this to help you choose the best one for you. For more information on the product, as always, I've included a link in the description box down below, which are updated with the best prices on each product. Like the video, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to stay tuned till the end so you don't miss anything. Now let's get started. Number 6. Acer Predator. Helios 300. The Acer Predator. Helios 300 2024 is exactly the kind of outstanding performance that anyone could hope for in a gaming laptop, with phenomenal frame rates and multitasking capabilities, matched to a gorgeous QHD display at 240 Hz. All that power comes at the expense of an almost non-existent battery life, however, and the best configurations get expensive fast. As far as more premium options go, the Acer Predator Helios 300 2022 embodies most of what you're looking for in a gaming laptop. It's simple yet has a well-designed chassis, with gorgeous RGB keyboard backlighting, outfitted with some strong tech, and even comes with a turbo button. It's a hefty fellow, though, with a weight of 5.5 pounds. It's not the heaviest gaming laptop out there, but it's one that's difficult to carry around. Its price reflects its quality, but it's worth splurging on if you have the money, since this is definitely one of the best Acer laptops for gaming. And Acer has a few excellent gaming laptop lines, honestly, so there's stiff competition. The inside tech proves its quality, with the model we received sporting an Intel Core i7-12700H CPU and an NVIDIA RTX 3070 Ti GPU, though you can upgrade it even further. So not only will it run any of the best PC games you throw at it, but it will run them well at fast frame rates on the highest settings. Naturally, there's a trade-off for such excellent graphics, and that's the absolutely abysmal battery life, which barely lasts 3 hours. This is definitely a laptop that you need to keep plugged in, especially for intense gaming sessions. The selection of ports on both sides and on the back of the laptop is one of the best we've seen. There are 4 USB ports alone, with several other mainstays such as the HDMI port, an SD card reader, an audio jack, and even a Kensington slot for added security. Number 5. Alienware M15R7. Alienware's latest Intel-powered gaming laptop is a beast for 1080p ultra gaming, with a seriously high screen refresh rate. It's held back a little by its lack of portability and noisy-ass fans, though. Dell's Alienware gaming laptops can be a very mixed bag. With an almost ridiculously huge range of models available, there's always going to be some chaff that needs to be separated from the, admittedly more plentiful, wheat. Thankfully, the new Alienware M15R7 sits firmly in the cereal grain category. A well-rounded 1080p gaming machine with a shiny 12th gen Intel processor at its core. At first glance, the M15R7 is the same as almost every other Alienware laptop released in recent years. An indented screen hinge, a long ring of RGB lighting along the rear edge, and that iconic alien head logo illuminated in the vivid blue. It's a tried-and-tested design that we can't blame Dell for sticking with. After all, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That being said, at first glance there's perhaps one area Dell could have improved things here, and it's not actually on the laptop itself. The main chassis weighs about 2.5 kilograms, and its 15.6 display means that it's not the most portable laptop out there. But our real beef is with the huge, heavy power adapter. Since the battery life is unimpressive, you'll need to lug this brick around with you in addition to the laptop itself, rendering the Alienware M15R7 decidedly less than lightweight. The overall design is a bit cheaper than Alienware's other X-series laptops, like the Alienware X14 we saw earlier this year, with more plastic used in its outer construction, so it doesn't feel quite as durable as some other models, though this does come with an associated reduction in price. Number 4. MSI Titan GT77. What better time is there for gaming laptop makers to go all out on performance than when Intel and Nvidia revamp their CPU and GPU lineups with hot new hardware? Alongside the launch of 13th generation Core HX processors and GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs, MSI delivers the latest iteration of its Titan GT77 powerhouse laptop, starts at $4,299, $4,599 as tested, with an Intel Core i9-13980HX CPU and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 GPU. A 4K 144Hz display, 64 GB of memory, and 2 TB of storage only pump up the experience further, allowing you to play virtually any game at high settings on a roomy display. MSI's cost of entry is not for the faint of heart, truly aimed only at enthusiast early adopters with a nearly limitless budget. But the performance is also a clear step above the previous generation. Still, even though value doesn't come into play so much in this maximalist category, we'd recommend the Asus ROG Strix Scar 18, which uses the same new components as a better deal and an often superior performer. This performance-first laptop is naturally beefy, though it's not as monstrous as some Titan laptops we've seen before. It has a large footprint to be sure, but it isn't as thick as some past versions. It measures 0.9 by 15.6 by 12.9 inches and weighs 7.27 pounds. The Titan GT77 we reviewed last year is much meatier, at 1.5 inches thick, though it weighs the same. That makes it a pretty hefty system to carry around, and one that will take up a lot of room in your bag. This laptop may not be as thick, but it's still a big slab, thanks in large part to a chunky rear thermal block non-negotiable, really, for the amount of power inside. We'll get to those components in a moment. The portability is only diminished further by a massive power brick, twice as thick as the laptop itself. You really only want to move this machine when you absolutely have to. Number 3. Acer Predator Triton 500 SE. Spending a grip on a gaming laptop isn't difficult. A cursory search on gaming laptops will net you several options that cost more than $4,000. But finding a laptop that's giving you the greatest return on your investment is more of a challenge. If you're spending around $3,000 on a gaming laptop like the Acer Predator Triton 500 SE, you want it to bury the competition, not just scrape by. Unfortunately, the Triton 500 SE is a bit disappointing and doesn't flex its hardware enough to set it apart in a crowded market. Housed in its all-silver chassis, the $2,999.99 configuration of the Triton 500 SE we tested includes a 12th Gen Core i9-12900H processor, RTX 3080, Ti graphics card, 32 GB of RAM, and 1 TB of PCIe NVMe storage. This hardware is more than enough to take full advantage of its 16-inch 254Hz 2560x1600 display. Acer has less expensive models of the Triton 500 SE available too. The base model, with an Intel Core i7-12700H CPU, RTX 3070 Ti, and 16 GB of RAM, costs $2,099.99, about as much as a Lenovo Legion 5i Pro with twice the RAM and storage. The Triton 500 SE has enough ports that it doesn't need an external dock or a mess of dongles. Along the left side, you'll find an Ethernet port, DC connector, a 3.5 MIDI audio jack, a single USB-A port, and a USB-C Thunderbolt 4 hookup. The right side features another Thunderbolt port, an USB-A port, plus an HDMI output and SDXC card reader. If you're sticking to the area around the WASD keys, the keyboard is fine, but trying to get actual work done on the keyboard can be a challenge. The switches have good tactile feedback and a small amount of travel, and they don't feel mushy, but they're smaller than average, and the gaps between them make me wish this space were used a little more efficiently. Number 2. Asus ROG Zephyrus. G15. The Asus ROG. Zephyrus G15 is the opposite of a huge, hulking gaming laptop. Subdued looks and a thin, lightweight design help make it one of the most portable 15.6-inch gaming laptops, and it has all-day battery life to match. It's the textbook definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Of course, there's no free lunch. Though the $1,499.999 model, $1,249 on sale as of this writing, we tested has a formidable AMD Ryzen 9 processor and GeForce RTX 3060 graphics. It still fell short of the admittedly bulkier competition in straight-line performance. The trade-off can nonetheless be worthwhile, especially if you're after a more mature laptop that doesn't sacrifice practicality. You won't find any flashy design cues or external RGB light strips on the Zephyrus G15. Though it's part of Asus's Republic of Gamers ROG line, this 15.6-incher shifts some of its focus from performance to portability and premium materials. The Eclipse gray chassis has a metal lid and palm rest surround. Only the bottom panel is plastic. The metal is thick and part of the laptop's structure. None of the chassis surfaces flex despite my best efforts. This is one strong, well-made laptop. The similarly priced MSI Sword 15 is all plastic. Design-wise, though, the Zephyrus isn't much to look at. Its rounded corners and monotone color don't move the excitement slider very far. The only time this laptop catches the eye is when its lid is in sunlight or intense lighting. A prismatic film catches light and shines through 8,179 tiny holes for a rainbow-like effect. This looks fabulous in person. Photos don't capture the full effect. The display hinge is also notable. It not only lets the lid tilt back 180 degrees, but also lifts the back of the chassis for improved airflow, and so the keyboard slopes towards you. Asus calls it an ergo-lift hinge, and that seems accurate. Number 1. Razer Blade 15. Performance-minded gamers looking for sleek, understated design with a beautiful screen will find a worthy specimen in the Razer Blade 15 OLED. This smartly appointed machine boasts a 12th Gen Intel i9 CPU and NVIDIA RTX 3070 Ti GPU, generating impressive views on demanding gaming titles while looking clean and simple enough to carry to the office any day of the week. While lovers of bombastic design aesthetics with aggressively styled air vents and sweeping angles may find the simplicity of the Blade 15 a bit mild for their taste, this laptop sports a beautifully flush RGB keyboard and ample ports for those focused on functionality over a flashy case. At $3,299, this is no entry-level machine, and it's bound to appeal more to mature gamers who prefer to distinguish themselves through their in-game action than their laptop's looks. Built for image-conscious gamers and content creators, the Razer Blade 15 OLED is a solidly built machine that delivers a substantial feel under the hands while showing nicely on your desk. Its matte black T6 anodized aluminum case is beautiful when clean, but the black picks up smudges easily, even from clean hands, so keeping it looking new requires regular wipe-downs. The Venn diagram of people who will spend $3,000 on this machine and people who will be infuriated by how easily its surface picks up fingerprints has a great deal of overlap. Razer's design aesthetic yields square corners and straight lines, letting the machine's actual performance speak to its gaming cred, rather than pretending at performance through overwrought, swoopy design gimmicks. Apple comparisons abound with the Razer Blade, and for good reason. In design and price, this machine is obviously built to appeal to the MacBook Pro crowd, and won't win over anyone looking for top performance at a bargain price.